Welcome back to part 4 of the final read-through. Sarah knows this part of the park well. I'm fine. If you're so well, she stood and moved her chair closer to him. Finish the show then. Show them how good you are and feed me. What? Go on and show them how much you love me. You can't keep your hands off me. That's not. What do you want them to think? You're lovelorn. Your friends are still here. I'm watching you. She put her hand on his thigh and squeezed. Now give me a nice big bite of that steak of yours. Her scar long ago had faded into her features for him, but the constant reminder by his associates this evening made him fume. He would remember their names. She was smart, beautiful, and smelled even better. You asked me to do this. She fluttered her eyes at him. What? He sunk his fingers into her hair. It was silky, as he always imagined. Oh, wait a minute. I screwed up. This is him. This is him talking. You asked me to do this. That's... because this is her talking, and then this is him talking, okay? You asked me to do this. Rumbled. Okay. You asked me to do this, Jack's voice rumbled. She fluttered her eyelashes at him. What? He sunk his fingers into her hair. It was silky as he always imagined, and pulled her head back, lowering his head to hers and wrapping his arms around her waist, pulling her to him. He had meant only to kiss her, but at the shock of his attack she had opened her mouth and he tasted her. He wanted more. Something shut his logic down. He pulled her tighter to him. Her hands were pressed against his chest, and she seemed to be struggling a bit. But he paid no attention, sweeping into her mouth, hungrily sucking and biting at what he could. He had captured her tongue at one point and sucked on it. Come on. She, S-H-U, shuddered? Is it D-E with a T's? Shuddered. In response. Oh. N-R-E-S-P-O-N, response. Let me make sure that's the right. I'm not feeling it right now. And that's how I'm making my titles. Let's see. Yeah. I knew it was wrong. That's the kind of weedy shudder. No. That's the window, not the frightening or the shivering. See, I knew I'd spelled it wrong. I'm glad I knew that. Shuddered. E-D. Shuddered. If I can spell it. Shutter. Shuddered. E-D. In response. She shuddered in response. Then, comma, then she, lowercase. She finally relaxed and slowed. Relaxed. I'm going to capitalize this. He. Okay, I'll reread this. But he paid no attention, sweeping into her mouth hungrily, sucking and biting at what he could. He had captured her tongue at one point and sucked on it. She shuddered in response, then she finally relaxed. He slowed his movements down, still stroking her and tasting her. enjoying the feel of her pressed against him. And this is all going to be, comma, enjoying the feel of her being pressed against him. Okay. Let's see. He captured her tongue at one point and sucked on it. She shuddered in response, then she finally relaxed. He slowed his movement down, still stroking her and tasting her, enjoying the feel of her pressed against him. He wasn't sure what triggered him, but he finally pulled his head away and tried to relax the grip he had on her hair. He had of her hair. That's awkward, and computer's even telling me it's awkward. He wasn't sure what triggered him, but he finally pulled his head away and tried to relax the grip he had of her hair, but could not release his other arm from around her waist. She was breathing heavily, and her eyes were wide and dark. I don't suppose you... His mind finally cleared, and he realized what he was doing. He tried to release her, but she held his arm, keeping it in place. You put in a lot of effort. Now don't spoil the look. She wound her arms around his neck and pulled herself up to him, whispering in his ear, "When you stand up, you're going to pick me up, and then you're going to hug me, and then we're going to leave the restaurant." "No. Then you have to feed me and try to carry on a normal conversation with your friends." "I can't after that." She beckoned the waiter over with a nod of her head. She asked them to box 3 meals and add a dessert, handing the man a card. She righted herself, standing between her dance partner and her kissing partner. "I want to thank you all for a lovely evening, and it was nice to meet all of you. I'm afraid Jack has received a message. Something's come up at the office that needs to be addressed tonight, so I'll have to leave your delightful company early. Swanson, take the meals." She bowed her head slightly and then winked at the host. "I will owe you a meal. We thank you for your generosity." She pulled at Jack's arm. Jack stood stiffly, said nothing, but nodded, then turned to leave. Sarah scampered after him, with Swanson bringing up the rear. I'm not sure if it's Swanson or Johnson at this point, but he is with them today. Jack was stopped by a voice just as he reached the door. Sarah grabbed his elbow. "Jack, make sure you bring the little lady the next time you come out to play." Jack gave her another look and pulled his arm away. She looked at him confused. "It's time to end this." She looked around the room at all the eyes. "Not yet." She smiled at him, pulled harder on his neck, and got to her toes to kiss him, but her lips landed on his neck. She felt him stiffen in her arms. She looked up at him, and a darkness crossed his eyes as he pulled her up against him, like he had in the lobby, and made his way to the car, her feet dangling. He let her slide down at the door of the car and made her crawl in first. It took little effort for him to slide into the back. His legs were stretched out, and he was more comfortable in this model. But he still took up most of the room. That's right. She was trying to read his expression. He was breathing fast, obviously upset. Once the bodyguard slipped into the front seat. "Can I have some privacy?" A small window started to ascend, dividing the car. As soon as it latched into place, Jack seized her and drug her over his lap, pressing her to his chest, gripping her hair, forcing her face up. He looked at her mouth. She did not resist, of course, but opened to him, wrapping her arms around him, pulling him tighter to her. A strange, heavy feeling started to swirl in her lower half. Doodly-doo. She tasted even better now that he could Oh, why is that there? It's all one thought. I mean, it's all one scene. It doesn't make sense. Do I have another space there? Enter. Tab. I don't know. No idea. It's weird. It's like there's too much space there. There's less space there. I don't... Do you see that? Everybody else sees this, right? What's the... That is the weirdest thing. She tasted even better now that he could take his time. He explored what he could of her neck and focused on her ear. See how there's that extra space when I hit enter? Weird, but it's not anywhere else. It's like all of a sudden... But it's just that section? I don't understand this. What got changed? Let's see. Home. Let's look. See, I'm not understanding this. Is it... Oh, wait. Duh. There's something here that's different. Let's see what this is set at. It's set at 1. Okay. Then let's see what this is set at. I bet this is 1.5 or something. One. No, see, it's still like that. I am totally not understanding that spacing problem. I mean, it might just be an optical illusion in my brain. It says that here. I'm not. There. That's what's marked wrong. That's why. Okay, now let's see. See, now it's holding just like that. Right? She tasted. That's what's going on. It's got some auto thing in there. I'll see if they want us to change that. Do not add space between paragraphs of the same style. Okay. If I have to undo that, I'll undo that. But that's why I was getting an extra space there. I have a feeling there's probably some setting in Word that was different than the Google Docs that I created this document in. Okay. Get rid of this. Space. Okay. For some reason, this is harder for me to read. Well, at least it's not doing that weird thing. Okay, sorry, back to reading. Once the bodyguard slipped into the front seat, "Can I have some privacy?" A small window started to ascend, dividing the car. As soon as it latched into place, Jack seized her and dragged her over his lap, pressing her to his chest, gripping her hair, forcing her face up. He looked at her mouth. She did not resist, of course, but opened to him, wrapping her arms around him, pulling her him tighter to her. A strange, heavy feeling started to swirl in her lower half. She tasted even better now that he could take his time. He explored what he could of her neck and then focused on her ear. She started to moan. Period. He hadn't heard her make those noises the first time he'd kissed her. The sound triggered him to start exploring, moving his hands across her body, trying to understand every curve. He made his way back to her mouth. The car hit a pothole and bounced them apart. She was breathing heavily. The swell of her breast obvious beneath the shiny blue material. And he didn't understand his logic, but opened his mouth and pressed his face against her breast, sucking and licking at what lay beneath the fabric. The texture was exhilarating, but she forced his head back up to her mouth, gripping his hair and pulling hard. She'd begun to comb her fingers through his locks. I want to say locks versus hair again. She'd begun to comb her fingers through his hair, scraping her nails against his scalp. Each stroke sent an electric shock through his spine, making his manhood ache for her. There was a knock at the window, and he realized the car had come to a stop. They should have switched cars before arriving. That would be his fault. Sarah pulled away from him, staring him in the eyes. She bit and licked her lips before trying to push away from him and open the door behind her, all while not losing eye contact. Sarah raced into Ravenwood House. She had to squat down, having difficulty with her straps, then winced at the sound of his shoes hitting the ground behind her. Sarah stood, plastering her back to the wall of the entryway. Then she finally stood her ground, stepping forward and raising her chin up. "What are you planning?" "Seeing if touch will sate it." "What?" "You cannot continually provoke me." "Well, I'm sorry, but—" She began to walk away, but he had a burning sensation crawl over him. Reaching out, he seized her by the wrist and pulled her towards him, pressing her back against him. "I'm provoking you? If not, what are you going to call that?" "What? You're the one who had your hands all over me." He still, that's a terrible read. "What? You're the one with your hands all over me." He still held her against him, spreading his fingers across her stomach, his other hand across her shoulder, nestling his nose into her hair by her ear. He whispered, "Period. This evening, kissing my neck, pressing yourself against me, rubbing my head. Acting, you told me to." "So, in the privacy of the back seat, that was also acting?" "No, you don't have to dislike acting, but I suppose it was for no one else's eyes. It was not done for an audience." "Are you trying to say," he turned her around and grabbed her by the shoulders, "that you are still just acting? All right, fine. I enjoyed provoking you. I enjoyed the act." He said nothing but held her firm as he pressed his mouth against hers. She tried to say, "You're hurting me," but he could not hear her, so she bit him. "What was that for?" "You're hurting me." "What?" He was horrified, dropping his hands to his side. "I don't bend that way." He looked confused. "You are very strong. If you're going to kiss me like that, you need to support me." "Oh, sorry." "At least push me up against a wall so there's something to brace me." He clenched his hands. "I'm sorry." "I'm fine. I find it charming." No, not charming. "I find it encouraging, pleasant even, when I think about the fact that you're this inexperienced." "Are you making fun of me?" "I'm glad to know you're a man who is Not used to this sort of thing? Are you a woman who is? No, you know my background very well, but I am aware of pain. I have been held before and forced into an embrace. She held a hand up. I also know how to defend myself. I am not defending myself with you. Just keep in mind the physics of the human body. I'm going to make this a second sentence. Just keep in mind the physics of the human body. His eyebrows pulled together. I'll show you what I mean. She pushed her finger into his chest backing. That's how that could work. Backing him to... She pushed her finger into his chest, backing him to... Oh, that's to him, yeah. Too many twos. She pushed her finger into his chest, backing him to a wooden chair at the dining table, then made him sit from the side so the back of the chair was not supporting him. Now keep your hands in your lap and don't touch me, and you can't grab anything. She gripped his shoulders and started pressing her lips to his, but kept pressing him further back. He immediately grabbed for her waist. She pulled her mouth off him and dropped her hands. You see, it's a little frightening, isn't it? Yes. Now let go of me and put your hands in your lap again. She wound her fingers into the hair at the nape of his neck and leaned in to kiss him again, hard, bracing her other hand on his shoulder. She deepened the kiss and pressed even harder. This time he grabbed her round the waist and pulled her into his lap. She pulled her face away and struggled out of his arms, standing with her fists on her hip. Did you feel the difference? Yes, I understand. He reached for her again, but she stepped away from him. I want to practice. She smirked at him. I think you've had enough practice. I'm afraid there's not much left until you move to another level. I'm not sure that's what you're really after. What do you mean? No, I'm going to not contract that. I'm going to make that a whole. I'm not sure that is what you're really after. What do you mean? Am I the first? She could see the thoughts racing through his head. Well, it means you're just excited at all the newness of this. You would feel this way with anyone in this position. And I don't want to lose that bit of myself. He still looked confused. I'm willing to kiss you and hold you because in public that gives off a good impression. But I would never go beyond that in front of others. She crossed her arms over her chest and blushed. Then she raised both her eyebrows at him. Do you understand? You don't want to. Her ears turned red, even redder, and she took another step back. I'm saving myself for marriage, though I have little hope for it. I have only seen bad marriages. My grandmother claims that she and my grandfather loved each other in a good marriage. She said he was faithful to her and never hurt her. So I'd like to believe there is potential. I would not hurt you. She raised one eyebrow at him. I would not hurt you on purpose. You have taught me a lesson. I would never ask you to do something you were not willing to, and this is obviously something you're not willing to do. Oh, yeah, you're right. It doesn't need a do in there. I just didn't say it. I said it, but I didn't do it. You are not. You are. You. That's funny. I don't know why I've never figured that out. I would never ask you to do something you are not willing to do. Did I not have that? Did I just say it and I have it? That's possible. Okay, let's go back. I would never ask you to do something you're not willing to do. And this is obviously something you're not willing to do. He stood up and smoothed his hair. Sorry, Jack, I know that's a hard line for me. No, I understand. I have a hard line too, and that is why I am as inexperienced as I am. I appreciate your straightforwardness. I have appreciated that since I first met you. Oh, since first I met you. See. I have appreciated that since I first met you, and still, I appreciate your straightforwardness. I have appreciated that since first I met you, and I still owe you for saving me. I guess I could change it, but I like the poetry of it. And I still owe you for saving me. I suppose you have saved me again this evening. He worked the flesh of his cheek between his teeth, trying to think of the next words. She hung her head. I'll be in contact with you, Sarah. Why don't you take tomorrow off? It's Saturday. I don't get weekends. I'll contact you when I need you at work again. But she looked at the ground. All right, I can work from home. He moved away from her and stood stiffly by the door. There's a computer with proper security in my study here. You're welcome to it. The password is Ariel's birthday. Will they worry about me not returning? I'll explain you're on a special assignment, and you're staying at a friend's house. Her one eyebrow went up. We are friends, aren't we? She shook her head again in agreement. And Ariel is? It's in a few fluff pieces about me. She frowned at him. My cat Ariel. The image of the hairless thing registered. Oh, yes, of course, sir. He stiffened at her address and slammed the door behind him. She sat down and cried. She wasn't sure why, but she was glad she'd held her ground. She wasn't sure why, but she was glad she'd held her ground. I'm going to put not had held her. I like that, not the contraction. She wasn't sure why, but she was glad she had held her ground. That feels better. She would not just be a plaything for one of these rich men, but she felt awful. She had avoided it all those years in the hotel. She had avoided it all those years in the hotel, and though he may have helped her, and he may be protecting her, even giving her a future. I'm going to do this, ... But she would not be his mistress in appreciation of his good deeds. She would not become B-C-O-M-E. But she would not become, and I think I'm going to make that a capital B, even though, like a butt, big butt. But she would not become his mistress in appreciation of his good deeds. She would leave that for others. Jack returned to the office. He needed to work. He would work until he'd forgotten everything. The softness of her lip, taste of her mouth, taste of her mouth, the feel of her in his arms. Why was she so determined to not let him in, to hold him so far in the so far at a distance? At a distance. So far at a distance. Hold him so far. Distant. No, hold him. What did I have before? It wasn't right before. The softness of lips, the taste of her mouth, the feel of her in his arms. Why was she so determined not to let him in, to hold him so far at a distance, so far away? Hold him at a distance. Not so far, just hold him at a distance. Jack realized he'd been reading the same lines and the same contract for the last half an hour, just thinking of her, trying to understand it all. He called Gomez in. He called Gomez and his old friend Brent. He asked Gomez to find a bottle of whiskey and pour them each a tall glass. And then pour another as he dialed another one of his friends. I'm going to get rid of cousin. One of his friends, period. A COU cousin. He one of his friends, a cousin, he might have answers. There. He dialed another one of his friends, a cousin he thought might have answers for him. 20 minutes later, the door opened to the office, and a man, well-built, but head shorter than Jack, dark wavy hair. Alright, I want a whiff. Well-built, but a head shorter than Jack, with dark wavy hair and a concerned look on his face, held 2 bottles of whiskey high in the air. You haven't asked me to drink for a long time. What's wrong? Shut the door, Jacob. Gomez, Hartsfield. What's gotten into Jack here? I'm not sure. He hasn't spoken since we started. Drink one down to catch up. Oh, to catch up. To catch up. The man tossed back the offered glass. Are you going to tell me now? I'm at a loss for understanding, and I need your perspective. My perspective on what? Jacob, you've been with a lot of women, haven't you? Hartsfield tried to suppress the laughter that was aching to come out. Gomez did not find the question amusing, but Jacob snorted. I have been with my fair share of women. Well, they do offer themselves rather easily. I know, it's not that I've not had offers, but you know my rule, said Jack. I know it, but I don't understand it. So why are you asking me this question? I have a what? I have a hunger that is not satisfied by a mere kiss. Jack raked his hand through his hair. Oh. Oh, any particular lady? No, I like the dots because it's like he's thinking. That's why I had that there. Oh, any particular lady? Yes, one particular lady, except she's actually a girl. I didn't know you swung that way. She's smarter and braver than anyone I've met before. Jack searched Gomez's eyes. Gomez merely shook his head and stared hard at his glass of whiskey. Well, when I feel the urge towards a woman, I simply satisfy it. They do make these lovely things that can prevent you from impregnating them. But that's the thing What? I don't want to. What don't you want to do? I don't want to prevent getting her pregnant. Gomez's head whipped up. That's not right, sir. It's Jack if we're drinking. That's not right, Jack. You haven't done anything to her yet. I've only kissed her. Gomez shook his head and relaxed, pouring himself another glass. So, Gomez... You do know who this girl is then, don't you? And that needs a comma. Gomez. So Gomez, you do know who this girl is then, do tell. I'm gonna make this a comma. Relax, comma, pouring. Oh. Yeah, because it's all part of the same thing he's doing. So Gomez, you do know who this girl is, then do tell. Is it your cousin Angela? Did she finally catch you? Hartsfeld. But Hartsfeld is also called Brent. Where was I? B-R-E-N-T, Brent. No. Jacob laughed and poured himself another glass. I saw you at a banquet last week. There was an exceptional girl. What was her name? I don't know. She was in a red dress. She had a beautiful blonde hair. Magnolia, Marjorie. I don't know. It started with an M. Marilyn, and it's not her. My secretary blocked her. I can't stand that woman. Well, comma. Oh, and I need to retype this because of the highlight and it won't go away. I know, it's such a pain in the backside. Now I know that, though. T-H-E, there was only one other woman that CLU clung to your side all evening, and it cannot be that TRA tragic thing. Come on. Oh, thing. Let me get rid of this. Well, there was only one other woman that clung to your side all evening, and it cannot be that tragic thing. Although she did have quite a figure. That was your secretary. That I'm gonna get rid of this. Oops. Your secretary, right? Thing. I had two working for me at the party, Mansfield and Smith. Is it Miss Lily Smith? She is fun and good dancer, asked Brent Hartsfield. Gomez growled. It is Miss Lily, isn't it? She really should see a plastic surgeon. As long as I look at her from behind, it's fine. It is Lily. Jack dropped his head into his hands. She should see a plastic surgeon. As long as I look from behind, it's fine. It is Lily. Jack dropped his head into his hands. Gomez's eyes wore holes as he stared at the back of Jack's head. You asked her to play a part, but I think you've taken advantage of the situation. You've been kissing her frequently, even without an audience, I understand. Wait, what's the agreement? Asked Brent. My trusted secretaries are to fend off all the women that come after me. They are to protect me. And you have had Lily performing. Yes, it was supposed to be holding hands and claiming she was my girlfriend or fiancée. Keep worrying I'm spelling it wrong, but I checked like 3 times. Girlfriend. Anyways, I admit I took it a bit far tonight, but it did work. Those women, even Angela, left me alone with just a few words from Lily. Did you see her at dinner tonight, Brent? She performed beautifully. But I had a report you had a private performance with Lily. Are you sure you're interested in her or the performance? Brent looked confused. Is there a difference? Yes, it's Lily. I'm afraid of becoming infected. Oh. No, with his head still in his hands. Yes, it's Lily. I'm afraid of becoming infected, Jack said. Oh, uppercase Jack. With his head still in his hands. The word is infatuated, and I find that after a few good shags, my infatuation wanes. Well, I'm not like you. No, you're not. But most men are. But I doubt you're most men. If you haven't gotten tired of it after a month of continual shagging, then you may not. May not what? Get tired of her. I think that maybe I'm broken. It doesn't take more than 2 shags, 1 night of pleasure, and I'm done. You are broken. That's hideous. Gomez, make sure she still has the guard on her tail and an extra guard in the house, and she's staying put. She's staying put, Jack. At least her phone is. Well, I want eyes on her. I want to make sure she is safe. Safe from who? You're here, so who do you want her safe from? Smirk. I spelled smirk wrong. A smirk on his face. It's a long story, but you think if I sake my lust with her, I will be over it by the morning? Most likely. What comes after the lust? I would not know. Never been one for follow-up. Gomez cleared his throat. You're asking the wrong friend. You have a different opinion? I've been with my girlfriend for 5 years now. Why haven't you married her? She keeps telling me no. Her parents don't approve. Who are her parents? Oh, won't. I'm going to say won't rather than don't. Won't. W-O-N-T. Because they've not asked the parents. Who are her parents? Campbell. You're with Marion Campbell, the soul. Oh, wrong soul. Soul there. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. The sole heiress to the Campbell fortune, Gomez nodded. How? I thought she was a beautiful woman, and I asked her to dance. I did not realize who she was, and I allowed myself to fall in love with her. She says she loves me, but she refuses to marry me. I told her I would sign any agreement forsaking the fortune, but she still refuses me. But have you... We take measures. Have you ever thought of just forgetting once? If you got her with child, you could pressure her. That's not what I want. I want her to willingly marry me. Her parents have met me, but they are... I'm going to change this. They are under the impression that I am merely her protection. Oh, Gomez, I know you're from a humble background, but your parents are decent and loyal. But your parents are decent and loyal. Yes, sir, that's the problem. They are humble. She's afraid of telling her parents anything, because they will force us to stop. Well, I think it's not a good relationship then. She needs to be more bold. I'm going to put an exclamation point there. I'm going to leave it even though it's not liking it. I don't care. She told me of a boy she liked in high school, and after she told her parents, she never saw him again, and his family disappeared. So, she's afraid. Don't intervene. I really do love her. What if she's forced to marry someone else? Are you willing to be the mistress? She has been. That's right, I heard she has a fiancé. It's a business arrangement. That's not good for you. My point being, Sir Jack, is that I can understand Lily's predicament. I'm in a similar position of a humble background and socially at the mercy of others. You would not marry her, and she would forever be a canary for you. If she lasted for you. I'm going to put this as a ... If she lasted beyond the night. You think I'm that sort of man? Do you think I'm like Jacob over here? I don't know what kind of man you are. And you don't either. You have always abstained and rejected. You've never been in the face of... It's different, sir. Once you've partaken of the fruit. Partaken of the fruit. Just say shagged. Shagging changes things, Brent agreed. What if I married her? Well, then that's different. Gomez leaned back in his chair. You will have to ask her. She's not old enough. You wouldn't have to wait another year, offered Gomez. I'm going to put this, protested Jack. O-T-E-S, tested Jack. You would have to wait another year, offered Gomez. You're after a teenager? She doesn't act like one. She's smart and has a good head on her shoulders. Not good enough, or she wouldn't have gotten mixed up with you, snorted Brent. That's why she got mixed up with me. She knew who you were. That's not good. She knew I was something. It doesn't matter. So you're interested in a woman, a girl with ulterior motives. She was just after my money. Jack said, I'm going to put this, Jack said flatly. Jack said, F-L-A flatly. But you're okay with that. Brent spread his fingers in the air. She was honest about it, and she's not used sex to get it. Brent's eyebrows pulled together. I don't understand. You have never had anyone not offer sex? Anyone not offer sex in exchange for money? No. Well, she didn't. She doesn't want... She said she's saving herself for marriage. Really, that's fresh. Gomez let out a long, slow breath. I'm going to say this, snorted. What's his name? Jacob. I can remember. Jacob. 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 Gomez let out a long, slow breath. Well, then that's your answer, sir. Jack, you either respect her and marry her, or you send her abroad. I don't think you can be around her any longer. Jack sunk his head into his hands again. Is it really that serious? Asked Brent. Gomez continued, I saw you at the last dinner, and I don't know what happened today, specifically, but Johnson told me you had her sitting in your lap for far too long in public, and if you don't marry her, if you keep her here without marrying her, her reputation will be beyond repair. I didn't, Gomez continued. I didn't realize she was so serious a person. I mean, I like her. Period. She is a good egg, but I did not realize that was her perspective, and I think you have been taking advantage of her performances. You two have been giving. Make a decision. Jack sat back and scrubbed his fingers through his hair. Then leaned forward and poured himself another glass, quickly downing it. I've never liked anyone like this. You've never kissed anyone, right? What if you marry her and then find you don't care anymore? ? Well, I will always care. I owe her that much. It would be a horrible marriage if you don't find her still interesting. I don't understand. Well, when your cock turns towards another woman, you'll make her miserable if she's really the faithful sort. So I need to only covet her, and that would solve it. Even if you find her repulsive. Jacob, do you find the women you sleep with repulsive the next day? A.S. asked B.R.E. and Brent. Jack saw something flit across his friend's face. Yes, I suppose that's the word for it. Gomez threw back another glass. That's on you. There's something wrong with you. You should see a psychologist about that. Jack, if you have decided to marry her, all the details can be worked out. But make it happen quickly. Don't make her linger. But you have to be honest with her. Jack poured and drank another glass. The liquor was finally hitting him, and he was feeling a bit dizzy. All right, I won't let her linger. Am I going to get to meet this woman who has finally lured Jack out of his shell? Asked Jacob. You can meet her at the wedding. If you two will excuse me. Gomez, please get me home. It was well after 11 when he opened the door to Ravenwood House, where he squirreled Sarah away that evening. Earlier that evening. Earlier that evening. E-A-R-I-L-E-R. Earlier that evening. She was not asleep in the front room, and he had not stopped himself. She was not asleep in the front room, and he had to stop himself from panicking. She wouldn't be. Why would she still be up in the front room at 11 o'clock at night? He stumbled upstairs and continued towards her room. No, and then stopped himself. That would be wrong. Very wrong. Though he ached to hold her, he turned and aimed himself towards his room and threw himself on his bed, and he fell asleep. Oh, and he fell fast asleep. And then he fell fast asleep. He threw himself on his bed, and then he fell fast asleep. I'm going to get rid of the then, even though it's awkward. Let me reread this. He turned and aimed himself towards his room, comma, and threw himself on his bed and fell fast. It's the too much he's. His bed and fell. Tina. N-D. closer to that end. He turned and aimed himself towards his room, threw himself on his bed, and fell fast asleep. Oh, he wants a comma. That makes sense. Okay, now I'm going to repeat it. He aimed himself towards his room, threw himself on his bed, and fell fast asleep. Much better sentence. He recognized the hand of the old woman dangling down to his cheek. Oh. He recognized the hand of the old woman dangling down to check his brow. Are you okay? I'm fine, thank you, he said sleepily. She patted his head and left the room. He moved to try to sit up and realized his head ached. He felt like he'd been stuck in a dehydrator all night. His tongue was dry and swollen, stuck to the roof of his mouth. The water glass next to him was empty. He stumbled to the bathroom and drank greedily from the sink, splashing water in his eyes, trying to clear his vision. I'm going to make this a comma and a lowercase s. Eyes, comma, trying to clear his vision. He never drank excessively for this very reason. He hated the next morning. He showered and changed. He had a full day, and he would address his Sarah, his manufactured Lily. He owed her an explanation or an offer. He gingerly made his way down the stairs towards the dining room, each step jarring his head. But she was not at breakfast. Sorry, Jack, I haven't seen her. Jack tore back upstairs and knocked on her door. There was no answer. He turned the knob. Period. It wasn't locked, so he searched her room. The bed was neat and made, but that had been her occupation. But the bathroom was dry. Far too dry to have been used in the last 24 hours. He went to the library next, and then his study, and pulled up the security footage. She left the little, but he checked her phone and still showed that it was inside the house. He found it. She left it charging in the drawer next to her bed. What was she playing? He panicked. He had no way to track her. And she hadn't taken a car, but simply walked away. That's what's wrong here. This needs to be car, comma, but. He panicked. Sorry, the dogs are talking to other dogs. Shh. Goodbye. Good night, baby. That's it. Shh. He panicked. He had no way to track her, and she hadn't taken the car, but simply walked away. There was not enough resolution to make out her face properly, but he was certain she still had the scar. He called Gomez and apprised him of the situation. He also called the security to acquire the video feed. She seemed to have just been coming back. She was on the return loop. She hadn't left the gate, but then she was gone. A large black van was beside her as she walked. A tree obscured the next 2 seconds of video, and she never reappeared beyond the boughs of the tree. His heart sank as he saw the black van drive out of the gate of the community. There was no license plate on either end of the car. How many hours had it been? He checked his phone. 10 hours ago. Jack called Gomez in his panic and told him what he'd found. Gomez assured him they were not going to call the police about this. They would only interfere with us taking action. I'm going to do this. This is what I need to do about this, comma, as they would only interfere with us taking action. Would only interfere. I don't know what I was saying. Okay. I finally fixed this. Has been bothering me. As it would only interfere with us taking action. Agreed. I'm gonna get rid of this. It's such a weird thing. Oh, tab. Within 20 minutes, they had teams sweeping down on Dimitri's haunts. No, it will not be Dimitri's. It's gotta be. That's why I highlighted this. It's, Jason. I'm going to say Jason and Dimitri. Jason and Dimitri's haunts. Because Dimitri's also involved in this. I gotta respell his name though. D-I-M-I-T-D-E. Oh, yeah, if I could spell Dimitri right, or the way I spelled it. D-I-M-I-T-R-I. Dimitri's. D-I-M-I-T-R-I-S. Swept down on Jason and Dimitri's haunts. He should be the only one to have. They should be the only ones to have a grudge against her, having foiled their earlier plan. Then he had the most horrible thought. It was the first time. Gomez and Johnson. Were the only two in the organization, and he just shared for the first time. No. John was called. Who had known she was at the Ravenwood HOU house. Now, and he just shared for the first time. No. I'm gonna have to go back up there. I thought I had the wrong person, and I was right. I gotta go back. Wait, what page am I on? 202, 203? Okay. I'm gonna do a find and where's the edit? I don't know where it is. Oh, find here. Find. SW Swanson. No. I think this needs to be Johnson because Swanson's overseas. I remember, when I did this, I thought it was wrong. But Johnson. Oh, too many M's. Johnson. I thought it was wrong because I'd sent Swanson overseas, but then I gotta make sure. I was right. It's Johnson. John. Oh crap. Okay, wait. Control Z, 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 Control Z. Yeah, I spelled this wrong. J-O-H-O Johnson. I thought I had. Next. J-O-H Johnson. And his security to get the car leaving. Grayson and Stanley to wait with the Grandma Till and Sarah. Okay. But then he says, well, we'll find out. I knew I had the wrong person. I'm so glad I figured this out. Johnson. I had spoken to... This would definitely need to be changed because he was speaking to Johnson. And here's a Johnson again. Okay. Why is it yellow? Oh, I see why. Okay, never mind. Okay, so I was on 207 or something. No. Okay, here we are. Far too dry in the last 24 hours. Went to the library next. We'll study and pull the security footage. She left a little, but he checked her phone and still showed that it was inside the house. He found it. She left it charging the drawer next to her bed. What was she playing? He panicked. He had no way to track her, and she hadn't taken the car, but simply walked away. There was not enough resolution to make out her face properly, but he was certain she still had the scar. He called Gomez and appraised him of the situation, and also called the community security to acquire her the video. She seemed to have just been coming back. She was on a return loop. She hadn't left the gate, but then she was gone. A large black van beside her as she walked. A tree obscured the next 2 seconds of the video, and she never reappeared beyond the boughs of the tree. His heart sank as he saw the black van drive out of the gate of the community. There was no license plate on either end of the car. How many hours ago had this been? He checked his phone. 9, no, 10 hours ago. Jack called Gomez in his panic and told him what he found. Gomez assured him they were not going to go to the police about this, and they would only interfere with us taking action. Or not with them. With them taking action. Within 20 minutes, they had teams sweeping down on Jason and Dimitri's haunts. They should be the only ones to have a grudge against her, having foiled their earlier plan. Then he had the most horrible thought. It was the first time. Gomez and Johnson, they were the only two in the organization who had known she was at the Ravenwood house. And he just stared for the first time, no. Johnson was called back from his fishing vacation. None of his friends could be the culprit. Is that why Swanson was with them? I'm going to get rid of this. Who? This is how to do this. Going back up here. I hate these little details when they don't feel good. Oh, that's right. Got her with child. You could pressure her. Okay. That's why Johnson wasn't at the house. Okay. I need to get to page 2. Here. Okay, they were the only two in the organization who'd known she was at the Ravenwood house, and he just shared for the first time. No. Johnson was called back from his fishing vacation. None of his friends could be the culprit. He looked again at the time stamp on the security footage. It was just after that conversation, or was it before? His vision felt blurry. He could not believe that his oldest friends. Something was wrong. Why now? Oh, you know what? I'm going to do this. Something was wrong. Why now? New enter. Boom. So far, the teams had come up empty-handed. Though they had disturbed a large poker match. Pardon me. Though he had disturbed a large poker match, and he would have to bear the consequences for that. There was no news of her. The hours sped by. Time seemed to be in a free fall. Their searches fruitless. He made appointment with Servino. S-E-R. S-E-R, Servino. I gotta check that throughout this because I want to put that as a note. I'm not gonna do it now. Where's my pen? Check my spelling on that. I found it a couple times, so I gotta check. Okay. The hours sped by. Time seemed to be in a free fall. Their search is fruitless. He made an appointment with Servino, hoping to negotiate something, but the elder claimed he had not. Servino Sr. swore that it was not him, but he would check. Servino had nothing to negotiate with him, and had not been involved, but would check and make sure. Here, I think I've got this too many times. Servino hoping to negotiate. This was always awkward. I always ignored it before. He made an appointment with Servino, hoping to negotiate something, but the elder claimed he had not. He made an appointment with Servino, hoping to negotiate something, but the elder claimed he had not been involved, but would check and make sure it had not been his sons or grandsons, or any of their cousins. The old man also apologized after learning of the plotting his son had done his and its grandson. Sons. The old man also apologized after learning the plotting his grandsons had done 2 months before. Actually, it's a singular son, because Dimitri is the guy from the other family, or one of his lackeys. The old man apologized after learning the plotting of his grandson. Learning of the plot. The old man also apologized after learning of the plotting his grandson had done 2 months before. He assured him he would reprimand the man. He did not want it to affect their business any further. Servino Sr. said he was fully aware of the girl, but unaware of what she currently looked like. Jack had to trust the old man one more time. He gave the old man her description. One more time, giving the man. I'm going to say that. I like that. Jack had to trust the old man one more time, giving him her description. Black curly hair and the scar on her face. One more time. Wait. Jack had to trust the old man one more time, giving him her description. No. Black curly hair and the scar on her face. Description. I'm going to get rid of all of that. He promised to help to earn back some of the trust and the camaraderie they'd had over the years. One more time, giving him her description. He promised to help, hoping to earn back some of the trust and camaraderie they'd had over the years. It was another 24 hours before word came through. They'd found a few girls locked up. The 3 girls had been emancipated and men involved dispatched. There'd also been a rather grisly scene found in the back of an abandoned black vehicle. But no bodies were found. Gomez had left the process to the police. Left it to the police to process, but the key was there were no license plates. They were coming up to the 48-hour mark of Jack realizing coming up to the 48-hour mark, Jack realized. See, no, Control-Z. Even though it's weird because it's correct. They were coming up on the 48-hour mark of Jack realizing she was missing. And Jack found himself beyond. He finally could not hold back any longer and called Grandma Till, alerting the old house to her disappearance, asking if they had seen and or heard from her. His grandmother knew that meant trouble. He had not wanted to panic the old woman, but Sarah had only worked in the company a handful of days. That makes no sense. I'm going to get rid of this. That doesn't even make sense there. It's always bothered me, and I've never taken it out. He had wanted to panic the old woman. Jack had a horrible thought. Who did the black van belong to? Servino Sr. assured him that it was not within his organization. It was one of Nicholson's group's fleet vehicles. They had reported it stolen. I have no grudge against them. Would she? I don't think so, no. Servino Sr. had good relations with the Nicholson elders. He promised to discreetly ask. Jack returned to his office early in the morning. Sitting in his office with the door ajar, the sounds of the machines coming alive, people milling about. Oh, I know. Here, I'm going to put the thing to wait for Jack returned to his office early in the morning to wait for the call. No, wait here. Early in the morning. Jack returned to his office early in the morning. Could not go home. Now to wait to... What am I trying to... What's the point of him going to the office early? Oh. Intelligence. Here, returned to his office. Intelligence. Returned to his office early in the morning, waiting for more intelligence. Sitting in his office with the door ajar, the sounds of the machines coming alive, people milling about, the scent of coffee in the air. He almost stood to shut the door. But Gomez beat him to it, pushing the door shut behind him. There's no word, but I have talked to the police about the van. The quick analysis is it was male's blood, that is, in the back of the van. At least 2 blood types. They're running DNA at my request. Do you have her sample? Yes, I provided that. We won't know for at least 24 hours. Servino Sr. said he'd call me right back. I think you need to charge your phone. As Jack grabbed for it, his handset rang. There was a small, quiet voice on the other end, but he couldn't understand the words. Sarah, is that you? Yes. Where are you? A convenience store. I'm borrowing someone's phone. Give me the cross streets. No. Sarah, please. You shouldn't be involved in this, Jack. Just wanted you to know I was safe. You're not safe unless you're... Don't keep looking for me. Then she cut the call. You heard that, right? I don't know what I heard. Was that really her voice? We have to find her. Why would she tell you she was at a convenience store and then tell you not to come for her? Ah, this is in the wrong order. I said it, but I was wrong. 2. That's what... Okay. Why would she tell you she was at a convenience store and then tell you not to come for her? I don't know. Obviously something's wrong. Does she really think she's protecting me again? Maybe she's in her old neighborhood. Have men sweep that area again. Jack moved back to his desk. To plug not the desk, but plug in his phone, and it rang again. Jack moved back to his desk to plug in his phone, and it rang again. I've asked. It is something low level within the Nicholson organization. Something to do with a debt. Jack moved as it rang again. I've asked. It's something low level within the Nicholson organization. Something to do with a debt. Wait, it really was the Nicholsons? Well, that's what the van was about. They were collecting a debt. She doesn't owe anyone. No, but her father does. Jack felt limp. This wasn't his fault. This was her family's fault. Did they say how they found her? No, but I can find out. Garrett Nicholson wants to apologize to you and make amends. I want to make sure I've got that name. Garrett Nicholson, right there. Okay, Garrett Nicholson wants to apologize to you. Oh, and that's wrong. Gotta fix that. There. Garrett Nicholson wants to apologize to you and make amends. He will cancel the debt. No, make the bastard pay. How dare he use his daughter that way? As payment. Understood. If Nicholson eliminates future problems with the same person, I'll pay him what he's owed. I will let him know. Jack ended the call. You heard. Yes, I'll send people there now. She must be in her old neighborhood. Where would you like her parents brought? I don't want them brought anywhere. I want them under observation. Understood. Keep me informed of their movements. And I want to see... Oh. This is all him talking. Keep me informed of their movements, and I want to see and hear all their communications. Jack gripped his head. I need water. Can you get me some? Jack hadn't eaten for days and was beginning to feel sick. I brought you something to eat already. You look like crap. Thanks. Wait. She used to work at a supermarket. She might go there. She had friends. Understood. Jack's phone rang, the number he rarely saw. Auntie, what is it? Can you visit me for tea? Yes, but I'm a bit busy today. Well, I'm really anxious. I need to discuss something with you. Could you come now? To tea? Auntie, she asked so little of him, and she liked the girl. She was probably just worried about Sarah. I only asked because it's important. All right, Auntie, I'll come. He ended the call and bit his cheek. Get me the address of that grocery store. I want to go check it myself. And a map of the neighborhood. I want to go meet those parents in person. I will send it to your phone. Jack was off, his large Johnson following. They changed cars only once before going to the Ravenwood house. His auntie was standing in the door, shifting on her feet and twisting her hands, obviously anxious. He hated that he had nothing to tell her that was good. He knew she liked the girl. Without a word, the old woman grabbed his wrist and pulled him into the house, telling the large man at his heel, "The tea is ready in the kitchen. Please bring it out for us." Period's in the wrong place. Didn't you want? There. Okay, without a word, the old man grabbed his wrist and pulled him into the house, telling the large man at his heel, "The tea is ready in the kitchen. Please bring it out for us." Didn't you want? Both men froze as they registered the small raven-haired girl, her hands covered in blood, her light pink blouse stained and torn horribly. "I didn't know what you wanted to do with her, if you needed to." She waved her hands in the air. He did not hear the rest of her words. He did not hear the rest of her words as he grabbed Sarah up and wrapped her in his arms. "I'm fine." "No, you're not. You need to get this off of you immediately. Get this off of you immediately." He pulled her up into his... Here. He has already got her in his arms. He took the stairs 2 at a time. Then he... 2 at a time. I'm going to do this, comma. Setting her on the bathroom floor. He took the stairs 2 at a time, setting her on the bathroom floor, and began... 2 T's, duh. Setting her on the bathroom floor and began peeling off her clothes. She protested, but he simply pushed her hands away, backing her into the shower. "Just clean yourself." He found hydrogen peroxide under the sink and pulled out 2 bottles, pouring it over her hands. "You're injured. You're not injured, are you?" "No, not my blood." "Did this happen in the van?" She shook her head. "I think I may have..." Okay. This needs to be... She shook her head. Because this is her talking. Okay. I don't know why that little Y is there. Okay. She shook her head. "I think I may have... I think one of them was dead." "It doesn't matter. No one was in the van when they found it, and no one died. So you're fine." He helped her scrub and bubble off the last of the bits of crusty blood from her hands. Her feet had been bare and they were a bit torn. He made her sit on a bench in the shower. Sit on the... not a bench, but the small bench in the shower as he worked on them. There was a small piece of gravel embedded under her skin. She flinched and yelped only once as he peeled the flesh back to extract it. "Are you going to tell me what happened?" "No." "Why did you tell me not to come?" I got it in the wrong order again. "Why did you tell me not to come looking for you?" It was my father's doing, and I needed to deal with it." "Then why did you come here, if you weren't trying to involve me?" "Well, I ran into a bit more trouble." "You did?" "Yes, there was another car trying to pick me up. Then I realized I couldn't do it anymore on my own. They may have been my men. We've been searching for you since the moment I realized you were missing." Well, I didn't know them, so I avoided them. How did you get on the estate here, past the gates? She looked at him, putting her fists on her hips. Then her nakedness finally registered on him, and his body reacted. Can you stand? I will help you wash your hair. He tried to cover himself as he stood. I can manage. You have a scratch here. Yes, I have a new scar on my face. It's not that bad. I've had worse. Oh, damn, I'll be back. No, it's fine. I can take care of myself from here. She kept her back to him, but he still shielded her from his arousal. He left the bathroom and found his phone in the vest pocket of things that would be burnt. He made a phone call to Gomez and let him know he had her. Gomez already knew. Jack decided to personally call Servino Sr. He owed him that much. Found the girl. She's alive. Do you still want me to? Yes, I would like a full understanding of the events and a permanent elimination of future problems. Yep, it's fine. Understood. And we'll have dinner. Yes, sir, we'll have dinner. Jack knew he would owe this man a large favor after all of this, but it would be worth it. Sarah had not left clothing at Ravenwood, and so he found her digging through his underwear drawer. What, may I ask, are you doing? She spun around and her face was flush, and she pulled down the front. As I flushed, and this needs to be lowercase. I don't know why this is as, not. Okay, she spun around and her face was flushed as she pulled down the front of the t-shirt, trying to cover as much of her as she could. Cover as much of her as she could. No, that's fine. Looking for something I can wear. Oh, this needs to be tabbed. Oh, Control Z. Enter. There we go. Looking for something I can wear. He swallowed hard and worked the cheek flesh between his teeth. The t-shirt she had chosen rode high on her hips, and he had seen the shadow of the curve of her buttocks as he approached her. I have a drawer full of sweatpants. They don't fit over my hips. I used to wear your stretchy boxers. That's what I'm looking for. I have another robe. He reached around her, pulling something down. She smiled at him and put her arms through the sleeves, but she showed him how the front panels stopped overlapping once they passed her belly button. I really need to wear bottoms. She returned again to the drawer and continued to rummage. He was sorry he had given her the robe, he was being denied that lovely view. You have to leave some clothes here. You'll have to leave some clothes here. I'll try these. She pulled out a pair of his tidy whities. She put her back to him as she leaned on the counter to steady herself while pulling them on her legs. Well, that'll have to do. At least my bits are covered. She next made her way to the bed and pulled back the covers. He felt himself engorge. She pulled out the flat sheet and folded a quarter of it down, then dropped the robe, wrapping the sheet around herself and tying it. Is that the right tie? I'm going to check just because I'm not sure. TY. Tied a wreath. Tying. look. Let me make sure. Oh, it does TY. Okay. Tying it over her shoulder. My Greek goddess, are you hungry? Yes, I am, incredibly. Wait for me. I'm going to shower quickly. A cold shower. He had not taken long. It had not taken long and found Sarah's eyes. Oh, a cold shower. He had not taken long, but found Sarah's eyes closed and closed. Sarah's eyes closed. And her oh, I don't know. Let's see what there's. And her curled up at the top. She curled up. Sure, it could be she. Sarah's eyes closed and she curled up at the top. No, it's not, because I understand why they're saying that, but it's not. Sarah's eyes closed and her curled up at the top of the bed, so he quickly dressed without concern for propriety. The old woman was at the door and clicked her tongue at Jack's nakedness. He felt the heat rise as he quickly pulled up his pants. She then ran in to hug Sarah. You clean up very well. She touched Sarah's cheek. Your cheek is hot. Don't worry, little thing. I have something for that scratch. The old woman disappeared. He was so glad to have her back in one piece. He was sure he would never wanted to be separated again. He knew it would be a challenge to make Sarah his wife, but it would be worth it. The old woman had reappeared and smeared something on Sarah's cheek. Do you have any other scratches? Oh, here. I'm going to say when she hugged her, she woke her up. Sarah, comma, waking her. Period. The old woman then ran to hug Sarah, waking her. You clean up very well. She touched Sarah's cheek. Your cheek is hot. Don't worry, little thing. I have something for that scratch. The old woman disappeared. He was so glad to have Sarah back in one piece. He was sure he never wanted to be separated again. He knew it would be a challenge to make Sarah his wife. But it would be worth it. The old woman had reappeared and smeared something on Sarah's cheek. Do you have any other scratches? Okay. My foot, but I've already put something on it. Sarah, would you sit with us and have some food? Tell us what happened. Jack asked as he buttoned his shirt. You do not need the details. My father's at fault. That's all you need to know. Did anyone hurt you? I mean, do you need to be checked on? No, I'm perfectly fine. I'm a bit tired. If you don't mind, I would like to stay home today. I hadn't planned to have you come back to the office. She looked disappointed. Ever? You mean the deal's off? No, I'm just concerned for you. You don't have to worry about me. I'm fine. I've been through worse. I'm aware of that. Jack let her rest. I'll help Johnson. He's putting out dishes. The old woman disappeared again. I owe a dinner to an old business associate, and I need you to attend. Tonight, now. You can sleep today. I'll pick you up this evening. I'll bring you a dress. It's not formal, it's just the man's old-fashioned. Jack, I want to go to work and finish school. No. No one will stop you. I just need to increase security. You understand? Are you sure no one will hold me accountable for what happened at the back of that van? It should go nowhere. You were not injured, right? I lost my shoes on the road when I was running from the second car. So that should be the end of it. He wrapped his arms around her shoulders and guided her downstairs to the dining table, pressing her down. His old auntie appeared with more food and encouraged him to eat as well. He kissed the old woman on the top of her head and gave her a hug. I have business. Some business to attend to. Keep her well here today. Just here today. I have some business to attend to. Keep her here today. Sleep it off. Oh, that's what's wrong. Keep well here today. Get rid of the her. I'll see you at 6. Oh, and burn the clothes upstairs. The old woman nodded in understanding. Sleep it off, Sarah. I'll see you at 6. Oh, and burn the clothes upstairs. The old woman nodded in understanding. Doodly-doo. Bernard, give me a moment. The large man had acted as driver. As a driver as well as a guard today. It always amused him how the car dipped and swayed at the man's exit and entry. Oh, I'm going to say something about Swan. No, Johnson, not the old woman. Not the Johnson. Sleep it off, Sarah. I'll see you at 6. Oh, and burn the clothes upstairs. Johnson nodded in understanding. Bernard, give me a moment. Oh, doodly-doo. New chapter. Bernard, give me a moment. The large man had acted as driver as well as guard today. It always amused him how the car dipped and swayed at the man's exit and entry of the vehicle. This morning was no exception, as the large man leaned on the hood. The car listed to this right. The next call he had to make was going to be difficult. He would have to navigate the alarm he had set off in the morning, and his family's dynamics. Grandma? Yes, she's fine. It was a misunderstanding. She'd gone to visit some friends. I missed the message. Yes, I told her she needs to inform everyone, so she does not frighten us. I know she's new to the job, and they were her colleagues. I think it's good that she's making friends. Yes, I agree. I will let her know. Grandma, I have dinner with an old colleague of mine tonight, and we may not make it back. Yes, I'm taking Lily. Yes, we will most assuredly be drinking. Yes, we will have a driver. Oh, yes, we have a driver. But, Grandma, it will be late. It's Servino Sr. And you know how he is on protocol. He will expect us to stay. Yes, I know what kind of man he is, but we still have to make nice with him, don't we? Yes, I love you too. No, we will be in separate rooms. Why do you ask that? Do you approve now? Yes, I'm aware of her parents. Well, then I'll ask her. Yes, I do, very much so. And no, I'm not telling her. I'll bring her home tomorrow for sure. Yes, I promise. Now I really have to go to work. Thank you for accepting her. Sarah would need a change of clothing, but maybe those tailors could help. He wanted to stay away from the old house. There was a knock on the hood of the car, pulling Jack from his thoughts. The chocolatey eyes of Gomez staring in at him. Your 10 you pushed to the 11 is here and anxious. The man had the nerve to fix his hair in the The man... No, it's in. The man had the nerve to fix his hair on the reflective surface of his window. The speed of time had changed. Now the day dragged on. The last 48 hours had seemed to go by so quickly. Every moment was painful without knowing where she was. Is this truly the kind of anxiety he wanted to live with, worrying about her every minute? Then the thought of shipping her away from him to another country, another continent. No, far better to keep her by his side. Finally it was 5, and he could switch car, and he switched cars twice. Gomez was with him, as well as the large, silent brute Bernard. Gomez acquired 3 dresses. One should be suitable, and a box full of rings to allow her to select one. She would agree with him tonight, before they left the house. He sent the other 2 men into the kitchen with Auntie and Johnson. He sat her on the porch with a thin box. Sarah looked better now. The color under her eyes had lightened, and her skin seemed pinker. How are your feet? Fine. He reached for one. She resisted, tucking them under her. I said they're fine. He swallowed hard and went to his knees, reaching far under the chair, gripping her ankle hard and pulling. They're not fine. This is a bit inflamed. It will get better. No, leave it alone. He reached again. Let go. He grabbed the other ankle. This one is better. I told you I'd be fine. I'll be fine. Now let go of me. While he was still on his knees, he reached for the thin box that had been knocked under the table and opened the lid. He foolishly opened it upside down, and there was a clattering of small metallic circles in the dwindling light. And what is this supposed to be? Well, he started. He flipped the box and tried to gather the shiny bits, pushing them back into the velvety ridges. This is supposed to be my proposal to you. Proposal for what? I take cash, not jewelry. My proposal for marriage, woman. Sarah swallowed hard, looking at him sternly in the eyes. I don't think that's appropriate. I'm serious. Proper marriage, license, nights together, children. She pushed back in the chair. I'm not really 20, you know that. He shrugged his shoulders. You are now. You decide who you want to be. She shook her head violently. No, you can't be serious. Why not? Well, you can't be. My grandmother has given her approval. Sarah's eyebrows went up. You have talked to your grandmother about this? She brought it up. Sarah rolled her lips and licked them. And what's all that supposed to be? I'm letting you pick your ring. I'm afraid I didn't know which one you'd like. I'm afraid I didn't know which one you'd like. Would. I keep saying it, but it's not in there. I'm letting you pick your ring. I'm afraid I didn't know which one you'd like. You can wear the different one each day. I bought the lot. You have far too much money, don't you? Think of them as an investment. They're yours, whether you say yes or no. She scowled at him. Well, that's not very romantic. Now, is it? Well, I don't know your size or your taste. Why are you doing this? Why are you asking me now? Quote mark. Well, I had a long discussion with someone recently, and they pointed out to me that I was being quite unreasonable with my demands on you. You recognize that you are unreasonable? Question mark. I recognize that I made a mistake. And the second one is that, well, I have to give you a choice. So I do get to choose whether I marry you or not. Yes, of course. If you don't marry me, I'll send you abroad. You can go to school and develop somewhere else. You pick the country. Do I have to sign that today? You don't want to marry me? Question mark. I think you shouldn't want to marry me. You know my background. I am well aware of your background, and I have no need to marry for money or status. I prefer someone who is smart. Oh. I prefer someone who is smart and can do for themselves. Oh. I lost my mind when I couldn't find you. I want you to understand that. The thought of sending you away is tearing at me. But I will respect your wish. Well, I don't really want to go overseas. So you'll marry me? No, you do not know me well enough. In the almost 3 months that we have known each other, you've seen me, 4 or 5 times, a dozen days of car rides. That's not enough for a relationship. I admit I'm not attentive. I admit I was not attentive until recently. I will accept an engagement. I admit I was not attentive until recently. Throat. I will accept an engagement. It has to be a year long. A year? Yes, that will be responsible. Anything sooner and people will suspect you've done something nefarious to me. I'm already questionable enough among your friends and family. And that is my counter-offer. Take it or leave it. He searched through the rings, trying to find one his size. It was large. Thick and plain, with a small chip embedded in its surface. I think this will work. Do you like it? I want one that fits. The look's not important. Is that why you're so interested in marrying me? I fit. I've liked you, no matter what you look like, scars and all. She licked her lips and took the ring from him. Fine. Then she tried to slide it up his finger. Is it comfortable? He bent his fingers. Okay, he bent his fingers. Yes, very. Find one you like. There are many. Why is it? Is it gaudy with a Y or IE? I thought I'd look this up. Control C. Ah, I did misspell it. I'm glad the computer found it for me. So the Y. Okay. Oh, Control Z, Control C, Alt Tab, Control V. Yep, I spelled it. That is the correct spelling. There were many gaudy pieces, but she chose a simple band as well, studded with 10 small chips and lightly. I'm going to spell that word out. I don't like it number-wise. Sometimes it's okay. Studded with 10 small chips and lightly engraved with a vine. I don't know if it will fit me. It looks a bit large. He took it and slipped it on her finger. She shook her hand. Well, it's not coming off. It will do. Are these really mine? Yes. And they're all real? Yes, of course. She picked up a few that were still scattered on the table and threw them in the box. All right, I accept them. Show me my dresses. Oh, show me my dress. I know it's getting late. He was surprised how officious she was. No kiss for the newly betrothed. Oh, and that's why that needs to be with that. You're surprised at how officious she was. No kiss for the newly betrothed. I said I would be engaged to you. I did not say that I would engage you. She raised an eyebrow at him. He smiled at her. Then he did what she taught him, lacing his fingers in the hair at the nape of her neck, giving her a deep but brief kiss. There in the front room, you have 3 to choose from. I get to choose again. Of course. She ran ahead of him, the box of rings firmly tucked under her arm. She chose a cream silk that hugged her generous curves and covered her toes. I'm not a fan of these shoes. Well, we can get you others. You could wear slippers tonight. I could explain. She shook her head. I'm not going to shame myself by wearing slippers in this dress. Oh, not in this dress, with this dress. But you may have to carry me. A smile pulled at his face as he swept her up into his arms. He tried to kiss her, but she put her finger against his lips. You are not allowed to start that. He alerted the other two. I'm going to just say the others. He alerted the others it was time to go. It was only a 12-minute drive, but they had to change cars and drive in from a different direction. She brought her 2 dresses and the box of rings, having secured them in the trunk. She allowed him to carry her to the door across the cobblestone path. And walk. Path. I'm going to say path because walkway. That's fine. She allowed him to carry her to the door across the cobblestone drive and path, but insisted on being allowed to stand on her own for introductions to the host. Servino Sr.'s hair had thinned and grayed. His cheeks seemed a bit hollow, but his generous... They actually want the end in there. Fine. Servino Sr.'s hair had... I was right in the first place. Servino Sr.'s hair had thinned and grayed, and his cheeks seemed a bit hollow, but his generous abdomen had not decreased, nor had his presence. Jack felt her stiffen in his arms. He followed her gaze. She was staring at a few men standing at the far wall. He bent down and whispered in her ear, "I should have warned you, I'm sorry." "It's fine. We will make up, I'm sure." She looked up into Servino Sr.'s face and smiled. I'm going to look that up. I want to make sure I've got the right word. All right. Ah, okay. Ha! Made up. Make up. Make up for lost time. Compensate. Nope, it is 2 words. I thought I was right because it's... Okay, I had it right. You don't know any better. It's correct. Somebody's going to tell me it's right. I was wrong. But whatever. It's fine. I will make up, I'm sure. We will make up, I'm sure. She looked up into Servino Sr.'s face and smiled. She was polite but quiet, much quieter than she normally was, he noted, but she answered any questions that the old man had of her, or for her. Jack hadn't truly eaten with her at a proper dinner, and her idea of a long engagement was not bad. This was only the 3rd formal event they had attended. This was only the 3rd formal event they had attended together. Charity dinners and banquets would of course be part of her duties as as his wife. This evening Jack had insisted on skipping the scar on her face, replacing it with a large bandage, but he did not mind her keeping the dark curls. They set off her skin so well. "Jack, is there any good news you've not shared with us, or with me?" asked. Senior. He looked startled at the man's question, noticing. This is it. Finally, noticing the old man was staring. Man's question, finally noticing the old man was staring at his ring finger. She has agreed, but insisted on a year-long engagement. You don't trust him. I think he needs to know me better. I think it is reasonable to make sure he truly wants to commit, and this is not some harebrained idea he has. Do you think he often has harebrained ideas? I think he is impulsive. You do? Yes, that has been my experience. She is sensible, isn't she? I would say so. If you don't mind, I'd like to have a conversation with your fiancé. Here, after dinner over port. If you don't mind, I would... If you don't mind, I would like to have a conversation with your fiancé here after dinner over port. Are you okay with that, Lily? She nodded her head. The rest of the dinner conversation was dominated by the young people at the table, and one very ancient woman, a great grand aunt of Servino Sr. Lily was quiet, very quiet, but she devoured her food and left not a drop on her plate. Jack, however, was having a hard time. His stomach was flipping. All the possibilities the old man may want to talk with her about. To her. That would be with her. Would want to talk. Oh, let me leave it alone. All the possibilities the old man may want to talk about. He noticed that she would occasionally flick her eyes up to keep track of the tall men lining the walls and the ones that had joined them at the table. After dessert, the old man nodded at Lily, and she wordlessly followed him. Jack leaned on the hall wall, having followed 10 steps behind. What he wouldn't give to know what they were talking about. Doodly-doo. He's giving me my own room, so you don't have to worry about controlling your lower half. What? We're staying tonight, and I have my own room. All right, are you ready for bed? I'm a bit tired. Can we talk? Show me my room. I'm going to get rid of that. I don't like it. Can we talk? She approached one of the particularly quiet young men from dinner. Can you show me to my room? I'm a bit tired. The young man's face spread in shock, then he rolled his lips and nodded his head, leading the two of them upstairs. Ellie, this is yours, and I get the one at the end, he said dismissively to Jack. Thank you. Jack waited for the young man to turn and walk away before knocking on her door. What? She cracked the door and tried to shut it on him. He held strong and pushed it open, then closed and locked it behind him. I want you to tell me what you talked about. There's really nothing to say. There's lots to say. What did you talk about? He assured me that I would not have any consequences for my actions. They were all justified, and the men in question were fine anyways, so I don't need to worry. Is that what he told you? Yes, he also made sure I had his personal number in case I needed help in the future. Are you sure you want him to know all of this? Oh, are you sure you want me to know all of this? You asked me what we talked about. I also asked him about those men on the wall. He said they were his grandsons and cousins. He's aware of what occurred and what I prevented. Was he happy with that? He was impressed. I don't think he was happy. Who impressed him? Well, I did, of course. A sly smile spread across her face. And he said if the engagement doesn't work out between us, he has a few young men that he could introduce me to. Really? And you're going to accept that? Well, it would be rude to outright decline his offer. He was such a gentleman about it. You think they would make a better match than me? No, but again, I'm not one to be rude. One of them was that young man that showed us to our rooms. He's not a good man, Sarah raised one shoulder. I'm going to do this. Enter. And he raised one shoulder. Well, we will see if you are a good man. You did leave me alone for 2 months rotting away in a house. I was busy. She raised her eyebrows at him. Don't be busy anymore. This is your last chance. My last chance? Okay, maybe I'll give you 2 more, but that's it. Can I ask you something? He held both her hands. You can, I may not answer you. He bit his lips. May I ask you, what could I have done to not be in trouble? To not disappoint you in the first 2 months? Communication, letting me know you were alive, not in the country. A complete information blackout is not appreciated. So even if just tell me what's going on. Let me know. You know how you felt, how panicked and desperate you felt in the last 48 hours. While I was missing. Try months of that. She pulled her hands away. Were you worried for me? I have to admit I was more worried for myself. At least I had someone feeding me. All right, I promise no matter what, I will tell you. Even if it's another woman. I don't have other women, Jack protested. Comma. And that's not a comma, that's an exclamation point. There we go. Well, you may have women who bother you. You are rather a good catch, and comma. Here, I'm gonna get rid of this. Period. It is how we met. All right, I promise. Good. Set the clock on your phone for 5 minutes. Why? That's all the time you get. What? 4 minutes then. No, 5 is fine. The more you delay, he quickly opened his phone. All right, we'll start at the beep. A piercing beep, and she launched herself into his arms. Kissed the corner of his mouth and brushed her lips across his. He was stunned for a few seconds, and then his body took over. She was sweet and smelled of soap from his bath at the Ravenwood house. They had managed to tip backwards, sprawling on the bed, with her on top of him, gnawing at him, thrashing against him. All too quickly ended. But, oh, I see. Read the sentence first, then edit. Gnawing at him, thrashing against him, but all too quickly his phone began to beep, and she pushed off of him. I'll see you in the morning. I'm sure we are to have breakfast with them, but I would like to leave quickly. I don't really want to be around those men. I worry for their devious little plots. He was absolutely, utterly boneless. Sarah, that's not fair. I never said it would be fair, but you got 5 minutes. Now go, and have a good night's sleep. Unlikely. Doodly-doot, doodly-doot. New space. She was dressed a bit formal for breakfast, but she looked lovely in the morning light, draped in another cream dress. She was resting her chin on her fist, listening to the old man tell a story. I guess that could be like if you did this and then that, it really is all part of the same thing. Listening to the old man tell a story, and Jason, the man who orchestrated his night of debauchery she had rescued him from, sat across from her, staring at her profile. Jack did not like it. Jack purposely pulled his chair closer to her, wrapping his arms around her shoulder. She seemed startled and made eye contact, but then continued to stare at the old man. Breakfast was simple and protein-laden, but good. She smothered her eggs with a thin red liquid. He would remember that and keep it for her. He could finally not resist the call of the outside world and made their excuses. He saw her wince as she stood. He took her arm and felt her stiffen. The old man followed them to the door as he embraced her. She accepted with a grin on her face. He scowled at the other men, including Jason, she scowled at the other men, including Jason, which pleased him to no end. She was struggling on the cobblestones, so Jack scooped her up into his arms and carried her to the car. The old man smiled at him. Good job. How about yell after him? Oh, after him. Good boy, keep it up. That may convince her. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo. I can take you to the old house directly and let you sleep. No, I want to go to the office today, but I don't think this is the appropriate gear that I am still missing my scars. She ran her finger over the large bandages on her cheek and neck. No, I suppose not. You have had plastic surgery. We have to make peace with the people hunting you, so... Oh. No, I suppose not. You have had plastic surgery. After all... After all, we have made peace with the people hunting you, so we will get you something on the way. No, I can't handle these shoes. I'll buy you new shoes. If we go to the old house now, they will insist we stay for breakfast, and it will delay our business. Quote mark. Doodly doot, doodly doot. Gomez returned within minutes from the store with a conservative dress and a pair of thick-soled, fuzzy boots. You know these don't go together. The man shrugged. I was worried about your feet. Thank you, but I'm afraid I'm going to look quite ridiculous. It's lovely. Well, exit the car. What? Get out, Jack. I need a moment. The men stood outside the car. The car shifted, and he thought of her naked in the back seat. He needed to turn that part of his brain off. So how long did it take you to get her to say yes? You heard the compromise. A year. Is she going to let you touch her? Doubtful. She kissed me last night, though. Are you sure she kissed you? Yes. She gave me 5 minutes worth of her kiss. What? That's not how you kiss. What? That's not how kissing works. Here. No. Period. What? Question mark. Uppercase T. What? That's not how kissing works. She made me start a timer, and when the bell rang, she was done with me. Oh, sir. The large man coughed, trying to cover his laughter. What is it, Bernard? The giant sat on the hood, and the car tipped to the side. A good driver knows to keep his mouth shut. If you're talking, it's important. Nothing, sir. Nothing. Just say it. She certainly is... Wait. I'm going to do this. I'm going to look this up. Okay, so it is 2 words. I'm not completely wrong. She certainly is in charge in this... No, she certainly is in charge in this relationship. I know it's weird, but I'm keeping it. She is certainly... Oh, I see. I got too many is's. She certainly is in charge. She certainly is... Too many is's. Can't see them all. She certainly is in charge in this relationship. Is that a problem? No, but understand, sir, your position. And what is my position? Servant to the mistress. That rankled Jack a bit. You know, it's not a bad thing, sir. Just behave. Behave or what? Or you'll be punished. She's quite deliberate in her actions, you know. I saw pictures of what she did to those men. Don't cause her trouble. You mean she's not as vulnerable? A weak little rabbit? No, sir, she is not a weak little rabbit. Might be the opposite. I'm just warning you, sir. He looked around and lowered his voice. My mother's a lot like her, and if you don't behave, well, I would. He looked Jack straight in the eye when he said that, and Jack understood. She will not be someone who would lack for suitors in the future. And no, sir. Oh, she will not be someone who will lack for suitors in the future. And no, sir, I have no intention of competing with you now. But understand, he lowered his voice again, if she ever throws you over, she won't be on the market for long. Understood. The large man stood up, and the car rocked back and forth, settling. Jack felt shaken to his bones. Bernard had never spoken to him like that before. Frankly, it was the most words he'd ever said, and those were to warn him that he'd better treat her right or the woman would not be his. How amusing that something so small, wrapped in dark curly hair, caused them all to be wound up so tightly. The giant man had been with him for a decade or more, having good grades and being the son of a driver for the family. He had the opportunity to attend school with Jack, but they had never spoken much. The man knew his place, or always said he did. The car shifted violently again. There was no way to see in through the glaze of the windows. Could I ask you something, Bernard? Anything, sir. Am I wrong? Wrong in pursuing her? No, she is a catch. Much better than any of those other women your grandmother has shown you. I would agree with Bernard. I'll be honest, sir. You're a decent man. So continue being decent. So you continue to deserve her. You have only known her for a few months. Anyone would have saved a stranger, even if it was for profit. Even if it was for a profit. Anyone would have saved a stranger, even if it was for profit. Period. She is good. She has a quick mind, you know. She is smarter than any of us. Yes, well, I have tried to understand that evening. I still don't understand why. How we are separated so easily. Yes, I wondered why you didn't appear and rescue me when I had not returned. I'm afraid that would be because he swallowed Bernard. B-E-R-N-A-R, Bernard. Did I spell it right? At this point, I want to make sure I did. B-E-R-N-A-R-D. B-E-R-N-A-R-D. Bernard swallowed hard. I failed. No, scratched his beard, his jaw. Beard, no jaw, like scratched his jaw. Yes, I've wondered why you didn't appear and rescue me when I had not returned. I'm afraid that's because Bernard swallowed hard. I failed. You did what? I woke in the car, sir. I must have eaten something I shouldn't have, much like you, and I woke in the car. I didn't know that. I thought you'd been beaten. I'd fallen down. Still down, still under the influence. The second time I woke, I was in the hospital. I'm still racking my brains on how they managed to do that to me. I debated having a conversation with them last night. They all looked so smart and smug. I truly wanted to bash their heads. It's a new day, and the old man has not approved of it. Had not approved of it. At least that's what he told me. You really think so? Yes, there is something else you should know. The old man said if it doesn't work out with me, he will introduce her to other young men in the family. That got the giant's eyebrows up. No, that would make an unhappy marriage for her. Gomez added, none of those boys are faithful, even to their organization. I know, so we must keep her happy. Agreed. Why are you so talkative today? I'm going to put this comma up, and I'm going to say snorted. S-N-O-R-T-E-D, B-R-N-A-R-D, Bernard. Snorted. Snorted Bernard. Why are you so talkative today? I don't talk unless there's something to say. Are you happy being a guard and a driver like this? The giant raised a shoulder. I do other things. Oh. Ah, I see. This should be like this. Oh, and then this needs to be up with that. There. I do other things. That surprised Jack. Such as? The door cracked. I'm having trouble with the zipper. Her booted feet emerged first, and she quickly turned her back, pulling her hair out of the way. The fitted top hit a zipper that started mid-back, and no amount of contortions would allow her to grip it. Gomez was closest and quickly grabbed the toggle and pulled up. Jack felt aggrieved. Thank you so much. She looked down and straightened the dress. The cowl neck exposed her clavicles and somehow seemed more arousing than the evening gown she just had on. She smacked at the large patches on her face and neck. Well, I think I'm ready. Don't you have a lot to do today? The giant man smiled at her, and she smiled back pleasantly, unlike how she looked at Jack. Now every move she made towards another man, he felt a tangle inside his chest. A tang. He felt a tang inside his chest and a bitterness on his tongue. Is this called jealousy? Yes, he was jealous. Oh, and there needs to be a space. The same feeling when someone's... It was the same feeling when he had when someone stole, past tense, S-T-O-L-E, stole a project or a piece of land he wanted, but 100 times worse. No. I'm gonna leave it like that. Or a piece of land he wanted. Yeah, I'm leaving it. Oh, doodly-doo. Doodly-doo. He asked the two men to wait and take the next elevator up from the parking structure so he could have a moment alone with her. I need to make something clear to you. She stared up into his eyes, and he lost track of his thoughts for a moment. I'm going to tell everyone we're engaged. Her mouth fell open. He slid his hand behind her neck and kissed her. She was all bacon and maple syrup. She tasted delicious. She pushed at his chest for a moment and then relaxed just as the bell rang and the doors slid open. The gasps are what made Jack pull his head up. They both wiped their mouths. She straightened her hair and the doors slid closed. A crowd of 20 had witnessed the scene. I'm going to spell that. I guess a crowd of 20 had witnessed the scene. Are you happy now, Jack? Very. The carriage did not stop until the desired floor. He held her in his arms and breathed in her hair until the door opened again. Jack, you know we can't. The door slid open and 2 women, one middle-aged and one youth, both in impressively high heels and very short skirts, stood open-mouthed. Then anger spread across the younger one's face. The elder looked sick. Jack, what are you doing? Hello, Martha. Angela. I need to introduce you properly. This is Lily. He held out her hand. He pulled out her hand. He pulled out her hand. Out. He held, I'm going to say this, he held, I like that. Held out Sarah's, not her, Sarah's hand with his matching silk band. He held out Sarah's hand and his simple matching, his simple, it needs matching's in the wrong place, that's the problem for me. X. He held out Sarah's hand with his, or with his simple matching band. Control V. Let me read that. I don't know if I like the sentence. I know what I'm trying to say, but I don't like the sentence. Hello, Martha. Angela. I need to introduce you properly. This is Lily. He held out Sarah's hand with his simple matching band. My fiancé. He smiled at the two women. I'm going to say Sarah. Sarah dipped her head. You're what? Grandma cannot approve of this. She already did. In fact, she told me to go after her and make sure I buy rings. I don't believe you. I need to introduce you officially, my dear, to these two. This is a distant cousin, very distant. Distant enough that we are betrothed, spat Angela. That was not my doing. That was an agreement, but I never acknowledged it. I broke that off when you were 14, young lady, and I haven't seen you in 6 years. Well, I've been waiting for you. That's your fault. You're young. You're young, you know. What, 20? I have plenty of young men I can introduce you to. On cue, the doors opened. For instance, these two. Both Gomez and Bernard's eyes widened, like deer caught in the headlights. Actually, it should be Johnson, because it should not be. It should be Johnson. Johnson's eyes widened, because Bernard's the driver. Both Gomez and Johnson's eyes widened, like deer caught in the headlights. In fact, I heard of a few other bachelors just this morning that are looking for well-placed. In fact. Nope, I like it. In fact, I heard of a few other bachelors just this morning that are looking for a well-placed bride. I can introduce you. I'm supposed to be your wife. Not in this timeline. Sarah laughed at his quip. Do I need to leave you to have this discussion with your other fiancé? She smiled up at him wickedly. No. There is no other fiancé. Grandma Till approved, and this impostor has no, there's no other fiancé. Grandma Till approved, and this impostor hasn't even been in the country, let alone in my universe. I've not acknowledged her. Ever. Martha, take Angela back to the old house. Have a good conversation with Grandma Till. And then go back to wherever you've been. I will not be turned away so easily. This has been planned. Well, not by me. I'm choosing the woman I want to marry. Whether or not Lily was here, it would not be Angela. You cannot speak to me that way. I've spoken with your father. You can speak with my father all you want. He does not have the final say. What kind of deal did you offer him? He offered me. Obviously, I need to speak with the man because he does not represent me in any aspect. And he retired years ago. Bernard Johnson. Johnson. Will you make sure they have seen... Johnson, will you make sure they have been seen to a car? I will let Grandma Till know you are expected. Jack swooped Lily up in his arms and carried her through the thinly populated office. You shouldn't carry me. Your feet still hurt, don't they? She buried her face into his neck. You know I won't be able to work here after this. Say as who? He set her down next to her desk. Just start working and read those textbooks. You're not starting until the spring semester, but you have time to get ahead now. She rolled her eyes at him, but opened her email and began her daily tasks. Jack, you should read this. Forward it to me. No, just come here. Come and read this. He leaned on her desk. Oh, well, that's not good. No, it's not, Jack. It's not at all. I'll call someone up from the technical department. Langston was a neat, well-dressed, middle-aged man, a far cry from what is expected of a man who spends his days in front of a computer, providing security for the whole institution. This is a problem, and she was right not to send it on to you. Sarah stood and then winced. Jack scooped her up and placed her on the couch, earning him an odd look from Langston. This is a direct attack. Oh. This is all part of the same guy talking. This is a direct attack. You did well catching this young lady. And you are... No. You did well catching this young lady. And you are... comma. Needs a comma there. Lily. Fiancé, secretary. When did that happen? Yesterday. Well, we'll have to have dinner then. Well, we'll have to have dinner then. Properly welcome you into the fold. We don't need to fold. We don't need a fold. We need a solution. Period. We don't need a fold. We need a solution. You know your fiancée is a bright woman. Much brighter than that. What was her name? Lisa? There has never been another woman. Jack looked pointedly at Sarah. Don't worry. They are always chasing him. You're going to have to beat them off with a stick. And you, Langston, are you committed? Oh yes, 3 deep. What do you mean? A wife and 3 children, not 3 women. Yes, well, we have good benefits here, so I could afford them. Langston. I want to make sure I put Langston in here. Yep. Yep. A wife and 3 children, not 3 women. Yes, we have good benefits here, so I could afford them. Have you known Jack for long? He went to school with my younger brother. Are they good friends? I'd say the families are good friends. I'm surprised you haven't met the man yet. His name would be Smithy Langston. I have met him. I would not have guessed you two were related. No, good eye. Stepbrothers. I definitely have the brains between the two of us. That's my friend you're talking about. Am I wrong? No. Jack let out a rough laugh. Don't get me wrong, my brother's a good enough egg. I mean, he's loyal as can be, but much better with people than numbers. People skills may be more valuable in the long run. She looked pointedly into Jack's eyes. Are you able to solve the problem? Jack ignored her barb. I'm afraid I'll need a few minutes of quiet, that is. I do find conversation stimulating but distracting from my work. Jack settled next to Lily on the couch. He wrapped his arms around her and whispered in her ear, Am I not pleasing enough to your people? Lily turned. Oh, Sarah. Turned and looked up into his face and grabbed him by the ear, pulling Jack to her mouth. The shock made him not resist the desire she stoked. It made him forget himself. They were interrupted by a cough. Don't use that device for a bit. I'm running a program. Jack, I'll be in half an hour. Jack, I'll be back in half an hour. I'm sure you two can entertain yourself. I'll shut the door on my way out. Sarah pushed on Jack's chest. You can't start something like that, little girl, and expect to get away. No, this is the office, and the door is not locked. And you have 5 minutes. Only I don't like this minute rule. I'm negotiating for 20, 10, 25, 5. I'll take 20. He pulled out his phone and started the timer. Then he pulled her up into his arms and across his lap, pressing her back into the cushions, taking his time to taste her. The sound of a large book falling rather than the alarm on his phone made him pull away. There was a small coterie of people from the accounting department. That were standing in his doorway. The sour-faced woman only had one crony left. He had forgotten that he'd called for this meeting and could have kicked himself, putting her in that position. You requested us, sir. He allowed Sarah to hide her face in his chest and went on like nothing was off. Yes, we're going to be recruiting again. I want you to report whether you need recruitment to your department. Do you still need extra hands to accomplish the work? Grayson stepped into the breach. We don't have an auditor anymore, nor do we have a basic bookkeeper. Interesting. None of the new hires worked. If you do have anyone you would recommend, if you do have them apply, I assume you know what it means to vouch for someone. He raised a brow to chill the air. The sour-faced woman spoke up. We would like to make sure that they are actually doing work. There are far too many pretty girls in the department, she snarled. Understood. Once they've gotten through the first 2 panels, I will let you all interview them. Will that satisfy you? There were multiple nods from the group. Jack noticed one man staring at his shoes and pointedly not making eye contact. I'll tell you what, I would like to have individual interviews with all of you. This department is rather important to us, to our success. I would like to make sure that I am fully accommodating you. I'd like to start with the men. How about you? Yes, the one in the gray jacket with the dark purple tie. What's your name? The man finally raised his head, but still avoided eye contact. Wade Smith. Mr. Wade Smith, please remain, and Mr. Grayson, if you will make a schedule for everyone, I believe one person an hour. An hour should suffice and allow me to get my work done. Thank you, and shut the door behind you. Tea? Oh, this is all part of Jack talking. Tea? He could tell the man was nervous. Jack pushed Sarah off his lap, and she straightened her hair. "Mr. Wade, please take a seat." The man still had not made eye contact, but did sit in the plush. "Mr. Wade Smith, please take a seat." The man still had not made eye contact, but did sit in the plush leather chair opposite them. Sarah retrieved the tea. "I'm afraid I'm not familiar with your position within the department." He could see the man was about ready to collapse from nerves. "No one is being fired today." Sorry. "No one is being fired today. I'm trying to add to the department, not subtract. Please feel at ease to share your concerns." The man seemed frightened, but finally spoke. "I made a mistake." "Well, speak up. I still don't know what you do." "I'm in charge of distribution and reimbursements for staff and company purchases." "And your mistake would be?" "I was unaware of your relationship with an Angela Larkspur. I was really quite insistent that I could not provide her a company card without your direct approval. I won't be fired for that, will I?" I'm gonna get rid of that. "I was unaware of your relationship with Angela Larkspur. I was really quite insistent that I could not provide her with a company card without your direct approval. I won't be fired for that, will I?" "No, you get a bonus. You did right. Angela Larkspur is a cousin of mine, but has nothing to do with the company, or my personal life." What else did she say she was? "She said she was your fiancée. But I've worked with Miss Lily here, and I believe you two have more personal relationship, so I doubted her. Was I wrong?" "She's been claiming that for years. It's all in her own head. I have put out instructions that she and her mother are not allowed in the building. However, you did good. Lily is my fiancée." The man's eyes widened. "Congratulations, truly. Should I give her a company card?" "She doesn't need it." "You don't have my personal number." "Do you?" "No, sir." "Well, any time anyone comes to you with an erroneous claim, some sort of connection, or it just doesn't feel right, I want you to immediately text me. I will address it." The man shook his head and offered out his phone. Sarah did the honors and handed the man back his phone. "Sleeping Beauty." Sarah smiled. "You don't really want people to know you have his number, do you?" "I suppose not. That's a good idea, but why Sleeping Beauty? Would you prefer Sleeping Dragon?" No, that's good. It will make no sense to anyone else. I will keep my vigilance, sir, I promise." "Was that your only concern?" No, sir, it's not. It is that one of the women that you dismissed a few weeks ago, she's called me a few times, and she is quite upset." "That is normal, and it's unfortunate you gave her your number. You should just block her." I have, sir." "Is she bothering you after hours?" "Yes, sir. My girlfriend is not very understanding right now. I'll have a solution for you before the end of the day. I'm going to send some people to talk with you." "Thank you, sir. I really do appreciate it. I don't want to miss my Lindsay. I'm pretty sure I think I have. Yes, I do. I remembered. After all of this is sorted out, why don't we have dinner with your Lindsay? You let her know there was a workplace disturbance and nothing to do with you. That would be fabulous, sir. Truly fabulous. I couldn't thank you enough. Call your Lindsay on the way down and go to see Langston in technology. And go see Langston, and then go see Langston in technology. Explain yourself. I'll let him know you're coming. Who's coming? The man held the basket of equipment. Langston took the timid man to the far end of the office, and Jack carried Sarah to his desk and placed her in his large chair, retrieving the small one for himself to sit in. Oh, her. It's gonna be her. Her small one for him to sit in. He had hours worth of contracts to read through and project proposal. Hours. What is it? I'm gonna go look this up because I don't think that's the right form, but I'm probably wrong. I know there's a rule for this in my brain. I'm getting tired. I'm not getting my brain working hours. I did a whole lesson on this for the kids, and I can't remember myself right now because I'm too tired. Let me look at it again. Hours, because it's not. It's an hour. Yes, I don't think that is... You know what? I know what that's referring to, but it's not what it thinks. The computer's confused. That's the answer. Because they think I'm saying the hours. The second one, the apostrophe S, means it's possessive of worth. And the other one is plural possessive, like multiple hours. Now that could be it. But that would still be possessive of worth. I suppose it is saying it. It's like, okay, I can accept this. Just had to talk it through, okay? I'm tired. Hit hours worth of contracts to read through and project proposals. He spent long enough on other people's problems. He set Sarah to the task of reading through things he had not already seen. She was to look for trouble with the numbers. There were multiple sticky tabs in each one with questions. Numbers. Wow. Okay, when she was done, there were multiple sticky tabs in each one with questions relevant but not always germane. No, it's not a person's name germane. It means as in legalese. I'll look it up to make sure I'm right. It's not Jackson Brother, in other words. germane, being at once relevant or appropriate. It's correct. It's also a name. Are you... Oh, that'd be funny. So your name is, like, relevant or fitting. If I say, yo, Germaine. She had saved him a few $1 million on a couple of things. She had shown her worth. Jack. He looked up and realized the frightening man had left. Oh, the frightened. Jack looked up and realized the frightened man had left. Frightened? Not frightened, just frightened. Realize the frightened man. I'm calling him the frightened man. So I could do this. If I did this, then the computer will be happy. Because I'm naming a person. Well, it's not happy, but frightened. It's not frightened because it's... Just trust me, it's not. He looked up and realized the frightened man had left, and Langston was busy on her desktop. Oh, you two keep working. This is a bit more serious than I expected. I want to warn you to not use this device until I release it back to you, no matter what it says. And what about his stalker? Oh, I took care of that. I would suggest a thorough investigation of her work. She was let go last week, yes? It's been over 2. She couldn't pass Lily's test. So is that why Lily fought with that woman? No, not exactly. Lily had a good idea. A test for figuring out if people were good enough at their job. I never linked her with the process. People may have figured it out. I'm going to check out the stalker's work. I read her chat history in the company's system. I'm afraid she may be part of the problem we're having here. Really? Then I want you to call one of your people. I want them to look at her accounts. Her personal accounts. Make sure she doesn't have any extra money floating out there. You don't remember what she looks like? Asked Sarah. Jack's eyebrows went up. I can't even remember the woman's face. Do you remember anybody in the accounting department, Jack? The truth is... Do you remember anybody in the accounting department, Jack? The truth is, she's a very attractive young woman. She often wears red dresses, red lipstick, and red high heels. She's quite coordinated. Is this something to be held against her? Well, she's a bit too flashy, and she brags a bit. Lily only worked there for 2 days. It was long enough to see her, and you only need to hear it 10 times to know it's not something she does occasionally. Justin called us up. 2 rather unkempt young men, in stark contrast to his neat line, stood before Langston and whispered between themselves before Langston knocked on Jack's desk to get his attention. Justin. I want to make sure I've got Langston's... Yeah, his first name is Justin. Jack. Well, I suppose. Oh dear, what is he? The polite way of putting it. Lily, do you recognize this woman? Should I? Do you recognize the man with the woman? Sarah narrowed her eyes and peered closely at the screen. Isn't that one of Servino's sons? Which one was that? He was flirting with me. No, it's Jason Servino, the one who had arranged my evening. Oh, that is not good, Jack. That's not good at all. Langston, can you do some sort of facial recognition software for people coming into the lobby? Sarah was still staring at the video loop. Langston looked at her strangely. I suppose it will cost us some money. It might save the company quite a bit more. I have to admit I did not recognize her without a red dress. Jack, do you want me to explore the possibility? asked Langston. No, I want you to hire some of your friends to implement it. Lily's right, the cost will save us tenfold. If you're trying to fix right now could have been avoided. If it started with something she did, we could have a lot more trouble. Do you know anyone in the intelligence field? Langston shook his head. Oh, here. Let me do this. Do you know anyone in the intelligence field? Langston shook his head. Here. That's what's wrong. Langston shook his head, then reconsidered. Well, I have a friend. He's a bit odd. We'll invite your odd friend over. I want everyone employed here to have their background check redone. Langston, I'm going to ask if you and your odd friend can help put that together. I have a lot of things. I know, Jack lowered his voice. I know, but I need people that I know are not compromised to handle this. I'll get on that right now. Can I borrow your spare room? Langston went to a concealed panel Sarah had not noticed on the opposite side of the bookcase. The bookcase. From the one Sarah had not noticed. Langston went to a concealed panel. Which Sarah had not noticed on the opposite side of the bookcase. From the one she'd used before. And Sarah had not noticed on the opposite side of the bookcase from the one she had used before and disappeared behind the wall. What's back there? I'll show you later, but I'll give you a hint. You'll never need a shower. But I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. If you ever need a shower, you can get one back there. Sarah's brows knit together. The other room had files and a big table. Why did you have me use that room? I didn't want you to think I had designs on you. And now? I definitely have designs on you now. She scowled at him. We've missed lunch, you know. I'm aware of that. Why don't you order something? For 10 people. Why don't you order something? Enough for 10 people. I have a feeling we're going to have a long night. Pick things that would be delightful cold, like fried chicken. That sounds good to me. Her eyebrows knit together again. Just ask one of the secretaries outside of the door. Oh, and make sure you have something for the big guy. He's going to be putting in extra duty today. Doodly-doo, doodly-doo. The sun had long ago set, and a new department had been created before they arrived home. Even Sarah's feet were fine. Even if Sarah's feet were fine, he liked carrying her in. He liked her smell and her warmth. Nope. He was determined to continue even if she protested. Alright, let me try this. Capital H. Boom, boom. Warmth. I did too many bumps. Okay. Grandma Till was thrilled to see Sarah in his arms. The Larkspur cousins were sowing discord in the house and blaming Lily for being late to dinner, despite no evidence. He assured them they had shared cold chicken at the office and only needed a light snack. The big guy was staying the night, as he often did, and he disappeared into the kitchens to satisfy his needs. Before Jack carried Sarah up to the top of the stairs, he made her promise to stay put while he got them a snack. When he returned, Angela was speaking low to Sarah, a redness creeping up her face, coloring her ears. Jack wrapped his arms around Sarah's back as his cousin threw herself to the ground, whining that she was being bullied. This is something he remembered from his childhood. Though it was a different cousin, it was the same motivation. Distract, distress, and sympathy. Distraction, distress. No. Distraction, distress. No, I'm gonna say distract because it's like a distract, distress, and sympathy. Jack. Distress. That works. Distract or distress. Distraction or distress and sympathy. Jack would have none of it and swiftly scooped Sarah up, throwing her over his shoulder, smacking her smartly on the backside, and walking past Angela, crying on the ground. Are you sure you don't want to attend to Angela? She looks awful pitiful. Sarah. No. L-A-U-G-H laughed. Period. Did I spell it right? Oh, I spelled laughed right. That was always a hard word for me for some reason. I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. He rested his hand on her backside. This was the first time he truly felt her lush curves. He let Sarah slide down him. Thank you for returning me too. Wait, this isn't my room. No, it's not. Now that you're my fiancé, you and I need to stay in the same room. Besides, I don't trust those larks for women. You can protect my virtue by staying in my bed. They're always causing trouble. And it's getting nearer Christmas. There will be more people in the house. And we will need your room. I already have asked someone to move your things in here. My rings too. Your rings too, my little crow. Girl has to have her priorities straight. So you're fine with me calling you a crow? What? They're smart, highly intelligent birds, and they pass down information from generation to generation. They can remember the face of an evil man and even tell their grandchildren about him. Why wouldn't I be proud to be called a crow? Because they also like shiny things and steal. Well, I don't steal, but I do like my shiny things. Go take a shower and get to bed. I'm not sleeping in the same bed with you. I won't touch you. I have more self-control than that. I don't think so. I'll put on 2 layers of pajamas. I promise I'm far too tired tonight to cause you any trouble. She raised her finger and stuck him in the chest, making him back away. That is not the part of you that I'm worried about being tired. If you keep talking about it. No. She put her hands up and ran to the bathroom. She returned quickly and gathered some things, looking through the closet and drawers. They really did bring my things over here. All of my clothes are here. Her face turned red before she disappeared into the bathroom again. He had lived this much of his life without causing anyone any trouble. He was determined to continue, whether or not the object of his desire was lying under the covers, inches from him. Nope, it's not the right. It's the cover. Under the cover. No, covers. It's just plural. Not possessive. Lying under the covers, inches from him. Okay, new chapter, but I need to stop because I need water. And, yeah, I need water. We're close. I'll upload this. I love all you humans. Have a beautiful night. I hope to publish. Well, as soon as I get through this. What do I have? Another 100 and... Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's okay. We're gonna get there. All right. See you soon. Good night, humans.